Have you ever found yourself caught in the endless whirlwind of your own thoughts? Those moments when your mind refuses to be still, spinning scenarios, replaying conversations, generating worries about things that haven't even happened yet. In the quiet hours of night, when the world sleeps, your mind works overtime. During mundane tasks, when your body is present but your thoughts are miles away, tangled in a web of what-ifs and should-haves. This is overthinking, a silent thief that steals your peace and creates chaos in your inner world. Imagine standing in a tornado of thoughts, each one demanding your attention, each one pulling you in a different direction. This mental storm exhausts us, drains our energy, and disconnects us from the beauty of the present moment. You may recognize this feeling, the heaviness in your chest, the tension in your shoulders, the fatigue that comes not from physical exertion but from the relentless activity of your mind. You try to sleep, but your thoughts have other plans. You attempt to focus on work, but your attention is fractured by intrusive thoughts that refuse to be silenced. This overthinking is not just occasional contemplation or healthy reflection. It's the obsessive replaying of past mistakes, the anxious anticipation of future problems, the constant analysis that never reaches a conclusion. It's the inner critic that speaks in absolutes. You always fail, you never get it right, everything is wrong. These thoughts wrap around us like chains, binding us to patterns of worry and preventing us from experiencing the freedom of a quiet mind. In the Buddhist tradition, this state is often described as the monkey mind, restless, unsettled, confused, jumping from branch to branch without purpose or direction. According to Buddhist principles, this restless mind is not your true nature but a conditioned state that can be transformed through awareness and practice. The Buddha understood that much of human suffering stems not from external circumstances but from our relationship with our own thoughts. As one Buddhist teaching reminds us, you don't suffer because you have thoughts. You suffer because you judge them, resist them, believe them, wallow in them, or identify with them. This insight offers us the first glimpse of hope. If our suffering comes not from thoughts themselves but from how we relate to them, then perhaps there is a path toward freedom. Perhaps we can learn to be with our thoughts in a new way, not fighting them, not drowning in them, but observing them with compassionate awareness. This is the promise of Buddhist wisdom, not a mind empty of thoughts, but a mind at peace with its own activity. The Buddha himself experienced the torment of an overthinking mind. Before his awakening, he spent years in contemplation, searching for answers to the deepest questions of existence. He knew intimately the suffering that comes from being caught in mental loops of desire, aversion, and confusion. But through his awakening, he discovered that liberation was possible, not by stopping thoughts altogether, but by changing our relationship to them. In the centuries since the Buddha's time, his teachings have provided solace and guidance to countless individuals struggling with restless minds. These teachings are not abstract philosophies but practical tools for everyday life, ways of working with our minds that have been refined and tested through generations of practice. They offer us a path through the storm of overthinking to the stillness that lies at the center of our being. As you read these words, you might be feeling a sense of recognition. Perhaps you've tried to control your thoughts through sheer willpower, only to find them growing stronger in resistance. Maybe you've attempted to distract yourself from difficult thoughts, only to have them return with greater intensity in moments of quiet. Or perhaps you've judged yourself harshly for your inability to silence your mind, adding another layer of suffering to an already challenging experience. If any of this resonates with you, I invite you to approach what follows with an open heart and gentle curiosity. The Buddhist teachings on calming the overthinking mind are not about achieving perfect mental silence or becoming a different person. They are about discovering the peace that is already present beneath the noise of your thoughts. They are about coming home to yourself in a new way. The path we will explore together is both ancient and timeless. It draws from the wisdom of Buddhist psychology that has been helping people find inner peace for over 2,500 years, while also aligning with modern understanding of how our minds work. These teachings are not asking you to believe in anything supernatural or to adopt a new religion. They simply invite you to experiment with new ways of relating to your own experience. In moments of overthinking, we often feel alone with our thoughts, as if we are the only ones struggling with such mental chaos. But this experience is deeply human, shared by people across time and cultures. In recognizing this shared humanity, we can begin to hold our own experience with greater compassion. We can see that our overthinking is not a personal failing but a common human tendency that can be addressed with patience and practice. As we embark on this exploration of Buddhist teachings for calming the overthinking mind, I invite you to notice your own experience. How does your body feel as you think about your thinking? What emotions arise when you consider the possibility of a quieter mind? Where are you feeling tension or resistance? This awareness itself is the beginning of the path, not judging or trying to change anything, but simply noticing what is already here with kindness and curiosity. The first Buddhist teaching that offers refuge from the storm of overthinking is present moment awareness. The Buddha taught, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." This teaching invites us to recognize that most of our overthinking happens when we are lost in memories of the past or fantasies and fears about the future. The present moment, this breath, these sensations, the sounds around you right now, is where peace can be found. Imagine walking in a garden on a beautiful spring day. The flowers are blooming, birds are singing, a gentle breeze caresses your skin. But if your mind is caught in thoughts about yesterday's argument or tomorrow's meeting, you miss the garden entirely. You are physically present but mentally absent. This is how many of us live much of our lives, our bodies in one place, our minds in another. The first step in calming overthinking is simply to notice this gap and gently bring our attention back to where we actually are. A simple practice for cultivating present moment awareness is to pause several times throughout your day and ask yourself, "Where am I right now? What is happening in this moment?" Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the weight of your body. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin. These simple acts of attention anchor you in the now, interrupting the cycle of overthinking if only for a moment. With practice, these moments of presence can expand, creating more space in your life for peace and clarity. The second Buddhist teaching that helps calm an overthinking mind is non-attachment to thoughts. In Buddhist psychology, thoughts are seen not as facts or absolute truths but as mental events that arise and pass away, like clouds moving through the sky. The problem arises when we grasp onto certain thoughts, believing them to be solid realities rather than temporary phenomena. This attachment to thoughts fuels the cycle of overthinking. Imagine sitting by a flowing river. The water moves constantly, carrying leaves, sticks, and other objects downstream. Some of these objects might catch your attention momentarily, but they continue their journey regardless of whether you focus on them or not. Your thoughts are like these objects in the river. They appear in the stream of consciousness, and then naturally move on if you don't reach out to grab them and hold them in place. To practice non-attachment to thoughts, we can learn to observe our thinking with gentle curiosity rather than immediately believing or rejecting what arises. When you notice yourself overthinking, try saying to yourself, "Thinking is happening," as if you're noticing the weather. This simple acknowledgement creates a small space between you and your thoughts. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that notices thinking. From this perspective, thoughts lose some of their compelling power. They become just one part of your experience rather than the whole of who you are. The third Buddhist teaching that helps calm overthinking is an understanding of impermanence. Everything in our experience is constantly changing. Our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, our circumstances. Nothing stays the same for even a moment. The Buddha taught that recognizing this truth of impermanence can free us from much unnecessary suffering. When we're caught in overthinking, we often forget this fundamental truth. We believe that our current mental state will last forever, that the problems we're ruminating on are permanent fixtures of our lives. But just as winter gives way to spring, and the darkest night eventually yields to dawn, our mental states also change and transform. The anxious thoughts keeping you awake at 3 a.m. will not be the same thoughts you have while enjoying lunch with a friend the next day. To work with this teaching in daily life, try reminding yourself when caught in difficult thoughts. This too shall pass. These simple words acknowledge the truth of impermanence and can provide immediate relief from the grip of overthinking. You might also notice the changing nature of your thoughts throughout a single day, how they shift in content and intensity depending on time, place, who you're with, what you've eaten, how much you've slept. This observation helps loosen the belief that your thoughts define you or predict your future. The fourth Buddhist teaching for calming overthinking is mindfulness meditation. While present moment awareness can be practiced in any activity, formal meditation provides dedicated time to train the mind in new habits of attention. In mindfulness meditation, we practice being with our experience just as it is, without trying to change or fix anything. This radical acceptance creates the conditions for natural healing and transformation. The breath serves as a perfect anchor for mindfulness practice because it's always with us, always changing, and directly connected to our nervous system. To begin a simple mindfulness practice, find a comfortable position and bring your attention to the natural flow of your breath. Notice the sensations of breathing, the rise and fall of your chest or abdomen, the feeling of air moving through your nostrils, the pause between inhale and exhale. When you notice your mind has wandered into thinking, which will happen repeatedly, gently acknowledge the thinking and return your attention to the breath. This practice is not about achieving a thought-free state, but about changing your relationship to thinking. Each time you notice your mind has wandered and bring it back to the breath, you're strengthening your ability to disengage from overthinking. You're training yourself to recognize, this is just thinking, rather than being completely identified with the content of your thoughts. Over time, this practice creates more internal space, allowing you to respond to your thoughts rather than automatically react to them. The fifth Buddhist teaching that helps calm an overthinking mind is loving-kindness practice. Often, our overthinking is fueled by self-criticism, judgment, and harsh inner dialogue. We overthink because we're trying to protect ourselves from making mistakes or experiencing rejection. Paradoxically, this self-protection strategy causes more suffering than it prevents. Loving-kindness practice offers an alternative approach, treating ourselves with the same care and compassion we would offer to a beloved friend. In traditional loving-kindness meditation, we silently repeat phrases such as, "May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering." These phrases are not magical incantations but reminders of our deepest intentions for ourselves and others. By consciously cultivating feelings of goodwill, we counteract the negative bias of the overthinking mind, which tends to focus on problems, threats, and deficiencies. When caught in a cycle of overthinking, try placing a hand on your heart and speaking to yourself with kindness. This is difficult right now. I'm having a hard time with these thoughts. May I be gentle with myself in this moment. This simple gesture of self-compassion can interrupt the harsh inner critic that often drives overthinking. It reminds you that you are worthy of care and understanding, especially in moments of mental difficulty. As we integrate these 5 Buddhist teachings into our lives, we begin to notice subtle shifts in our relationship with thinking. The changes may be gradual, a moment of catching yourself before spiraling into worry, an easier return to presence after being lost in thought, a kinder inner voice when you make a mistake. These small shifts are significant victories, each one representing a new neural pathway being formed, a new habit of mind taking root. It's important to remember that the goal is not to eliminate thinking or to never experience overthinking again. Thinking is a natural function of the mind, just as seeing is a natural function of the eyes. The Buddhist approach is not about suppressing or controlling thought but about finding freedom within the thinking process itself. It's about discovering that you can have thoughts without being controlled by them, that you can experience worry without becoming worry itself. There will still be days when overthinking seems to have the upper hand, when the mental tornado pulls you in before you even realize what's happening. On these days, self-compassion becomes especially important. Rather than seeing these moments as failures, we can view them as opportunities to practice returning to presence with kindness. Each time we catch ourselves overthinking and choose to respond differently, we strengthen our capacity for awareness and compassion. One of the beautiful paradoxes of working with overthinking is that the more we accept our thoughts, the less power they have over us. When we stop fighting against the reality of our thinking, when we drop the second arrow of judgment about our thoughts, we create the conditions for natural transformation. As a Buddhist teaching suggests, what you resist persists. What you embrace dissolves. This doesn't mean indulging or believing every thought, but rather meeting the fact of thinking with openness rather than resistance. The practices we've explored, present moment awareness, non-attachment to thoughts, understanding impermanence, mindfulness meditation, and loving kindness, are not separate techniques but interconnected aspects of a single approach to life. Each one supports and deepens the others. Present moment awareness helps us notice when we're caught in thought. Non-attachment gives us the ability to observe thinking without getting entangled in it. Understanding impermanence reminds us that no thought or feeling lasts forever. Mindfulness provides a structured way to practice these insights. And loving kindness suffuses the entire path with compassion, preventing our practice from becoming another form of self-improvement or self-criticism. As we walk this path of transforming our relationship with overthinking, we may notice changes that extend beyond our mental experience. Physical tension we didn't even realize we were carrying begins to release. Relationships improve as we become more fully present with others rather than lost in our own mental dramas. We make decisions more clearly, no longer clouded by excessive analysis and second-guessing. We sleep more soundly, no longer kept awake by racing thoughts. We discover more moments of simple joy and appreciation for the life that is always unfolding right here, right now. This journey with overthinking also touches the deeper dimensions of our being. As we practice disidentifying from our thoughts, we begin to glimpse what Buddhist teachings call our true nature, or Buddha nature, the awareness that is always present beneath the changing surface of thoughts and emotions. This awareness is like the sky that contains all weather but is not defined or limited by any particular storm. It is always here, always available, though often overlooked in our preoccupation with the content of our experience. In moments of clarity, when the overthinking mind temporarily settles, we may experience profound peace and a sense of coming home to ourselves. These glimpses, even if brief, show us what is possible. They remind us that the peace we seek is not something to be created or achieved but something to be recognized and remembered. It is our natural state, often obscured by the habits of an overthinking mind but never actually lost or damaged. There's a beautiful Zen story that captures this truth. A student asks the master, "How do I enter the path to freedom?" The master replies, "Do you hear the stream?" The student listens and says, "Yes, I hear it." The master says, "Enter there." This story reminds us that the doorway to peace is always right here, in this moment's experience, in the simple act of direct perception before thinking complicates our relationship with reality. As we continue this practice of working with overthinking, we can take inspiration from all those who have walked this path before us. from the Buddha himself to countless practitioners across cultures and centuries who have discovered freedom from the tyranny of racing thoughts. We are not alone in this journey. The very fact that these teachings have been preserved and passed down through generations speaks to their effectiveness and to the universal nature of the human mind, with both its tendencies towards suffering and its capacity for awakening. Each moment offers a new opportunity to step out of the stream of overthinking and into the spaciousness of present awareness. Each breath provides a fresh beginning. No matter how many times you've been carried away by thoughts, you can always begin again. The path is made of thousands of such beginnings, thousands of moments of noticing and returning, each one a small act of courage and care. As our practice deepens, we may find that overthinking gradually loses its grip on us, not because we've finally perfected our minds or eliminated all difficult thoughts, but because we've changed our relationship to thinking itself. We no longer see our thoughts as enemies to be conquered or problems to be solved. Instead, we recognize them as passing phenomena, like clouds in the sky or waves on the ocean, sometimes stormy, sometimes gentle, but always in motion, always changing, never defining the vastness that contains them. In this recognition lies true freedom, not a perfect state of mental calm that we finally achieve and maintain forever, but a living relationship with our own experience characterized by presence, wisdom, and compassion. This is the freedom the Buddha pointed to when he spoke of liberation from suffering. It is available to all of us, not because we are special or particularly skilled, but because it is our natural state when we stop struggling against the reality of our human experience and begin to meet it with kindness and curiosity. So as you continue on your journey with overthinking, remember that each moment of awareness is a victory, each act of kindness toward yourself is healing, each return to the present moment is the path itself. The racing mind will gradually settle not through force or control but through patient, consistent practice and the natural wisdom that arises from paying attention to your own experience with compassion. This is the promise of Buddhist psychology, not a perfect mind, but a free heart that can be at peace with the mind just as it is, racing thoughts and all.